Hello, my name is Jason. I'm with IBM Research, and I'm going to talk about the Agent Lifecycle Toolkit, or the ALTK. Specifically, how you can integrate it with MCP gateways in order to enhance tools in an agent-agnostic way. So, what is the Agent Lifecycle Toolkit? Well, it's a library that has a bunch of plug-and-play components that boost agent performance. In particular, we're interested in ones that, in this case, will boost tool usage by agents. And we're also interested in talking about the Context Forge. It's an MCP gateway by IBM and it has very nice plugin capabilities. But the real power is that we can combine the two, and that way we can have a whole server full of enhanced tools that are agnostic to whatever agent is trying to use them. Let's focus on a particular component. We're going to call it's called the JSON processor from the ALTK. And a lot of times when agents are calling tools and the tool returns a very, very long JSON response, agents tend to struggle with that. They either straight up throw errors or they have difficulty parsing things that are within this complex or long response. So one solution for that in the ALTK is that you can use this JSON processor component, and it will detect these long JSON responses, parse them, um, kind of filter them down to something that's more relevant, and then return that to the agent, who then hopefully is able to make better use of that. So we can apply this concept and kind of expand on it. And so instead of instrumenting one tool, the JSON processor, we can actually integrate with the entire server. And then that way we can instrument all the tools with a JSON processor. So let's show a demo of what this ALTK and MCP server integration will look like. So first of all, we're going to focus on this endpoint here. It's called Spotify Scraper, and it shows information about a particular artist, and it shows a lot of information. It has a very long response, which is why we're picking it. It has things about the biography, and then their full discography, and then playlists they're in, a bunch of other stuff. So the response is very large. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up Context Forge, and we're going to wrap that endpoint in a tool, and then we're going to put that tool in a particular server. And then what we're going to do is we're going to show two examples. On the left, this notebook will call the MCP server that does not have the ALTK's JSON processor plugin enabled. And on the right, this notebook will call a server that does have this plugin enabled. And so let's see the difference. So let's scroll down a little bit. We're going to see that both these notebooks have very similar agents. All it does is it calls as one tool that calls the MCP server that we're interested in, and that's about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask this agent to find a particular album from that long response about the artist. And for both of these, we're going to first start with an artist with a relatively small discography and therefore like a relatively shorter response. And so in this case, both sides should work because the response is relatively small. So we see on the right and left that the agent was able to find this album with no problem. But then what happens if we pick an artist with a very big discography? In this particular case, we're going to pick Willie Nelson, who has like hundreds of albums, and I know the response is very, very long. And so we see here on the left that this agent just straight up throws an error because the request is too large. It's something like over 30,000 tokens or like over 150 characters. But on the right, because this is calling a server that has JSON processor plugin enabled, under the hood, what it's doing is that it's going to detect this long response and then generate some Python code that will parse the long artist response for all the albums. And then now we see that we're able to successfully find information for this particular album here. So that's an overview of how you can use the ALTK to integrate with MCP servers to enhance tools. If you're interested, please feel free to try it out by pip installing it from Agent Lifecycle Toolkit or visiting us on our GitHub repo or visit our website at altk.ai. And thank you for your time.